Welcome to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Richard.
I'm Noah.
And today we are...
We're continuing the British World War II Cinematic Universe. That is what we're doing.
That's right, because you called it that a while ago.
Yes,
we did.
In the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare video.
Yes. It's a good cinematic universe to be in.
It is a very good cinematic universe.
Today we are talking about the 2010 award winner, The King's Speech, a movie directed by Tom Hooper, written by David Seidler, and starring Colin Firth as Prince Albert, Duke of York, who later ascended to become King George VI of England.
Yes.
Right. The movie stars Colin Firth, Geoffrey Rush as Lionel Logue, Helena Bonham Carter, Derek Jacobi, Michael Gambon, and a host of others.
Just a stacked cast.
It is a stacked cast. Yes.
Stacked cast.
Absolutely
of
wonderful.
Powerhouse actors who are all chewing up scenery.
This is a good one.
And there's not much scenery in this film, so like this is a great movie. This is a good. It's so well made. It's so well acted. I've started to ask people their opinions of the movies that we review before, though, and one of my friends called it Oscar bait. Good Oscar bait. Oscar bait. But Oscar bait nonetheless.
Well, I counted online today. This movie won 42 awards. Now, admittedly, Best Picture at the Jamaican Film Festival, maybe not the best one, right? But 4 Academy Awards.
4 Academy Awards.
In 2011, Best Picture, Best Leading Actor for Colin Firth, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay.
Yeah,
it won 7 BAFTAs.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, this thing cleaned house. Golden Globes, People's Choice, you name it. This was a good one.
Yeah.
Now, the movie...
Like I said, Oscar bait.
Most definitely. The movie follows Prince Albert, the Duke of York, known as Bertie. He's the second son of King George V, and he faces the challenge of ascending to the throne after his older brother abdicates.
Yes.
And he has a stammer. He has a speech impediment. He has a major speech impediment.
Severe speech impediment.
And this is at a time when radio... It has become a thing, right? Because this is the early 30s, 1930s, and he is expected to give speeches.
Yeah.
And it is one of the most painful things that he can do.
Yeah.
So how do you become the king, and how do you lead your nation in a time of war when you have this problem and you have this issue? And the most interesting thing is that the person that helps him get through this is a commoner, an Australian named Lionel Logue, who helps him overcome this speech impediment. How this takes place, though, is the heart and the soul of the movie.
Yes, it is. It is 100%.
So, had you seen this before?
I have seen this several times before.
You have seen it,
and I love it every time. It is just so well, and I said it before, it's so well directed, so well made, so well acted. This movie, it obviously, so it's based on a true story. There are liberties taken,
Always.
The timeline isn't quite correct. Elizabeth, his daughter, who would later become the queen, is a little young for this timetable.
I thought so also. But,
I mean, I know it's the 30s, but she was like 18 and was helping with nursing in the war.
Right.
In the 40s. So she's a little young, portrayed a little young in this. So there are liberties taken with this the time scale of this movie, and not everything. There's the relationship between Lionel and Albert wasn't quite so. What's the word? It's not. He's very nonchalant. Lionel is very nonchalant in this.
Yes, he is.
And from what I've read, because I did some research, he wasn't quite that nonchalant in the actual dealings. Like, it definitely was a more commoner, a more common man. He wasn't quite living in the squalor that they portray. So they really played up the angle of the class divide between the two for the movie, which I think ultimately the changes that they made benefit the story they're trying to tell. Which, to be fair, the story is about the friendship between Prince Albert, King George, and this commoner who is a speech therapist, essentially, which is untrained,
not formally trained speech therapist,
which is true. He was not, and he actually, from what I read, he actually did help with. He explains that he helped in the movie. He explains that he helped Australian soldiers who were coming back from World War I with their shell shock.
Yes, and
from what I've read, that is true. So that it's a wonderful movie that the liberties it does for the sake of telling a good story, which I don't find problematic.
A problem at all.
Yeah, no, because it serves a great purpose.
Now, I've seen this movie once before. I fell in love with it the first time I saw it.
So good.
It's amazing.
It's so good.
So I watched it 2 days ago, and I think either I missed the first time through or I had forgotten the first time through. There are many, many moments of laugh out loud humor.
Yeah,
the comedy in this movie for such a serious subject, the comedy in this movie is incredible.
Yeah.
And I attribute that to good quality writing.
Yes. Fantastic writing.
Good quality directing.
Yes.
And excellent acting. And
Geoffrey Rush is one of my favorite actors of all time. Now, I grew up on Pirates of the Caribbean, and his Barbossa is top tier.
Yes,
one of the best characters, and he is genuinely a very talented. There was something called the Golden Trifecta, I believe. He's one of the only Australians to have won. Essentially, I think it's like a Golden Globe, an Oscar, and maybe a BAFTA. Or an Emmy. Basically, there's like 3 high-profile awards. He is one of the only Australians to have won all 3.
I didn't even know he was an Australian.
He is, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He actually is in real life. Apparently,
Gotcha.
yeah. So he has won all 3. So he is an Oscar winner for a movie in the 90s. I don't remember what it's called, but I remember researching this.
Right.
And I believe he has a Golden Globe and an Emmy, maybe. I believe he has a BAFTA too. I'm not sure, but
I'm pretty sure he got a BAFTA from this.
Probably.
I did not print the entire BAFTA list. I'm pretty sure he had one.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. The dude is just a powerhouse of an actor with incredible range, and I don't think I've ever been disappointed by a performance.
I haven't seen a whole lot of his performances, and so Pirates of the Caribbean was where I first saw him.
Yeah.
This was the first post-Pirates role that I saw him in. And I was sold. Between the two performances, I was absolutely sold.
Yeah.
And they're so dramatically different.
Exactly.
And
one of them, he's just hamming it up, and the other one, he's taken completely seriously.
Yes.
Which is range. Just that gap in range is like, okay, yeah, I trust this guy.
There's a couple of things that came to mind as I watched this movie both times, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but have you ever wondered what it would be like if you met royalty, and how would you behave towards them? I mean, would you be deferential to their quote unquote royal status, or would you be a typical American, be like, we shucked you guys off 248 years ago? You know?
You were present for my tirade in the Cuckoo's Nest video. I think you know what my approach would be.
And, but for one of the subjects,
Yeah, I can imagine,
Lionel Logue in the movie, his approach, he realizes, who Prince Albert is.
Yes.
But he says, you're coming to me for help. You're going to follow my rules. We're going to do this my way.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to help you.
Yeah.
And
or I'm not going to be able to help you. Well, it's kind of the approach that he takes.
He doesn't quite say it that clearly, but you can see that's part of where he's going.
That's kind of where he's trying to go with it.
And he wants a one-on-one first name basis familiarity. And you understand through the course of their working together why that's important. Mm-hmm. But it is 100% against protocol
Yes.
It's against, you know, when
custom, you know.
when
It's not proper.
Queen Elizabeth, when Bertie's wife,
Yeah.
right, meets Lionel Logue's wife, and the wife recognizes her right of way,
Yeah.
and she's looking there, and Helena Bonham Carter, her performance was so good.
Also,
you know,
just a
tremendous.
fantastic actress.
Yes.
So much talent there. And, you know, as soon as this movie comes on, that's where you instantly start playing, all right, which of Britain's 12 actors are in this movie?
Well, yes.
And I tallied how many Doctor Who actors and how many Harry Potter actors were in this movie.
Oh, yeah. I didn't tally Doctor Who actors, but I did notice all the
There's
Harry
a few.
Potter.
There's a few.
I love the line. At first meeting, it's Your Royal Highness.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, it's ma'am.
Yes.
You know? And meanwhile, Logue and Bertie are hiding behind a door, and the other literally hiding behind a door.
Just having the most casual conversation of, oh, come on, Lionel, just go talk, you know.
Right. It's hysterical.
It is hysterical.
I think I've always wondered, could you have a relationship with a member of royalty like that? And the answer that this movie gives is, under certain circumstances, yeah, you probably could.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's a two-way street. And the movie kind of it's very subtle in how it says that it's kind of a two-way street. Mm-hmm. Lionel has to compromise and Albert has to compromise a lot. And Lionel doesn't realize just how much he should have compromised until he starts to like lose, I guess, the influence, or lose the grip he had. Now, Lionel is not malicious in his intent, but there's a time where his wife says, and his wife doesn't know who he's treating at the time, saying, I think you should at least apologize.
Yes.
It would be proper. And
yes.
then he doesn't get mad.
Nope.
He doesn't get frustrated. He sits, you see him look down, and then the next scene he has gone to apologize. He took that advice, took it into consideration.
Yes.
He is open to changing his approach slightly.
But did you notice when the first time he referred to King George VI as Your Royal Highness?
It's towards the end.
It was after they successfully delivered that key speech on the radio.
Oh, 100%.
And it was around other people.
Yes.
And it was at that point.
He gets the and I'm not saying that he had to compromise completely, because ultimately
I know
he was firm in his stance. He stuck to his guns that this is how my approach works and this is how I'll be able to help you.
Right.
And you see his perspective on that.
And he says, my house, my rules.
Yes, he does. He says, my castle, my rules.
Yes.
Specifically.
Right.
He tailors it to his
audience.
Yes.
I missed my castle. I'm going to have to go back.
Oh, there's some great lines. And there's so many great lines. I have a couple, but there's too many great lines in this movie.
It's a key moment, and it's a key moment for a reason.
Yes.
There's a scene in the movie where they're having an argument. It's the rehearsal for the coronation ceremony.
It is, and that's one of the most important scenes in the movie.
Well, because it's the scene where Lionel sits in the king's chair,
yes,
and takes a very mocking attitude towards the whole thing. But what he's doing is he's pushing Bertie to find his voice,
yes,
and to finally stand up for himself, and say, "This is mine." And if he doesn't push him that way, it's not going to happen.
Yes.
But once he does, and once Bertie finally says, I am the king, you can see
I deserve to be her. Yes. I have a voice and I deserve to be heard.
And he says, yes.
And
that is
that's the moment where he's like, all right, I'm done. I've gotten through.
Exactly.
I've got you. You've figured it out.
But if he had said, Your Royal Highness, before that point, he would have been just another person.
He would.
And so when the speech is successful, and when they're talking afterwards, he looks at him and he says, Your Royal Highness, and King George looks at him. It's the first time he's heard him say that, and they realize, we're here.
Yes. And it's followed up by now Queen Elizabeth, Albert's wife, calling him Lionel.
Yes.
After she refused to do that.
Yes.
Through the entire movie. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's there's a scene that I noticed for the first time, and it dawned on me how important it was rewatching it. And so in the beginning of the movie, you get this very sweet scene. It establishes Albert's character. He loves his wife. He loves his kids.
Yes.
You know, he's trying to tell a story to his kids, and he's focusing through the stammer, which, excellent performance by Colin Firth.
Yes.
He walks into the room. He's just having a conversation. No problem speaking at all. The minute they ask him to tell him a story, he starts stuttering because he's trying to do that. But, you know, and the daughters are patient, and, you know, he obviously cares about his children. And there's a scene later in the movie after he has been coronated, after he gets the crown, where he walks up and his daughters, instead of being excited, happy daddy, Elizabeth turns around and curtsies.
Yes.
And you can see the hurt in his eyes.
Yes, you can.
And he's realizing the weight, and he's realizing what he's losing. And I think that plays into Albert finally giving in completely to help. It helps giving completely to Lionel, because he has lost his last refuge where he can just be a human being.
Yes.
And
you know, he
now has that. And it's again, it's so well done, and it's so well performed in this whole movie. And I noticed that scene on this new watch.
Right.
That recontextualized that entire dynamic and why they focused on his relationship with his daughters as much, aside from just establishing him as a decent human being.
It's a heartbreaking scene for the audience.
Yes.
You hurt for him when you see that. You feel that palpable sense of loss.
Yes.
I've never understood why anybody would want to maintain that level of formality. I have read presidential histories, and I've read how first wives have referred to their husbands as Mr. President and the President.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, you've been married for 50 years, and for 40 it's been, Fred and Wilma, and now suddenly it's Mr. President. I wouldn't want that level of formality in my life.
Well, you know what they say, tradition is peer pressure from dead people.
I think the thing that truly, the whole theme of this movie, if you understand anything about therapy and recovery, especially where abuse is concerned, finding your voice and reclaiming your voice is crucial to the recovery process. And ironically, this movie is all about finding your voice, both physically and metaphorically.
Yes.
Which makes it just, absolutely a phenomenal production. So I grew up, my first introduction to the royals was Queen Elizabeth and Queen Elizabeth. And as a kid, I never understood why there were two Queen Elizabeths. Yeah. Right? Okay. And so the Queen Mother. And one of the things that I noticed in this in Helena Bonham Carter's performance as Elizabeth was she was a kind, decent, caring, loving human being.
Yes.
So I did a little bit of research on it to refresh my memory, because I remember the Queen Mother, and she was enormously popular. She was ridiculously popular.
Okay.
And I remember when she died. It was a big deal. It was huge. And that was one that was, covered on all three major television stations. Back then there were three. And in trying to understand that whole thing, but when I was reading a biography of her, she was
enormously popular,
reported to be just a really kind person.
Oh, that's good.
And that comes across on the screen in the
does.
story how nice she
does.
really is.
Yeah, very supportive, very attentive, very non-judgmental.
And Princess Margaret, I mean, I heard about her my whole life, although I don't remember what ended up ultimately happening with her. But yeah, that was my introduction. So it's kind of fun to see that story. It's kind of fun to see that. And then, of course, when you see Albert's relationship with his father and his brother, I'd probably have a stammer too if I had to deal with that.
Yeah,
those were some overbearing people.
Very, very. I found it funny that you brought up the what you know about, because essentially the extent of my knowledge of the royal family is Harry's out. And Betty White, while she died first, outlasted Elizabeth, if you go by age. That's all I know.
Wasn't Elizabeth the longest reigning monarch in
I believe, yes.
in royal history?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she holds the record for it.
She took the throne at age 25 when George VI passed away.
Yeah.
That is a long time.
So here's my... Unless you got some stuff. So here's some fun mental process as we go through.
Okay.
Colin Firth, powerhouse. We watched him in Kingsman last year.
Yes.
Very charismatic, very fun, still very like proper and confident. So to see him do this kind of, again, a role of complete flip.
Yes.
Is just, wow, what range.
Yeah, he is.
What range. I need to see more of his stuff. The total tally of alumni: Doctor Who, 3 actors; Harry Potter, 3, from my count. There's probably more.
Timothy Spall, Michael Gambon.
Mm-hmm. Ah, geez, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. So Churchill,
George V.
Oh,
Bellatrix.
Hello about it. There we go. That's why. The Archbishop was. He played the Master in Doctor Who.
Okay, he wasn't the Doctor though.
He wasn't the Doctor.
Derek Jacobi.
He's
a good actor.
He's a good actor.
He was a very good
actor. I'm trying to remember the others that were in there. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but there were 3. I looked them up.
Okay.
There were 3 Doctor Who actors. One of them who did old Doctor Who, like 70s Doctor Who.
Old Doctor Who?
Old Doctor Who, and he was a lot younger. How many hemp cigarettes did they go through filming this?
I have no idea.
Not as many as Cillian Murphy on Peaky Blinders, but probably a lot, it looked like.
Is that what they're using nowadays?
Yeah.
Hemp cigarettes?
Yeah. Love Geoffrey Rush. Quotes that I just love. My husband, he requires public speaking. Well, perhaps he should change jobs.
Yes.
He can't. Indentured servitude. Just laughing my ass off. Lionel could not care less. Could not care less about any situation he's in, especially at the beginning of this movie. He's just like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah,
what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, right.
Helena Bonham Carter is amazing in this movie. I already talked about that. They're all idiots. Well, they've all been knighted. Makes it official then. No notes. No notes. And then shortly followed by, surely a prince's brain knows what its mouth is doing. Well, you're not well acquainted with princes, are you?
Yes, I know.
So funny, they played it twice. There's that whole aspect of this that George has major trust issues, obviously stemming from his childhood.
Oh, sure.
He just doesn't want to trust Lionel. And just deep down that he just can't. He can't.
How many specialists had he seen that failed him? How many times was he disappointed? This man was done with therapy.
Yeah. He starts off the movie not wanting to do therapy.
Yes.
The dialogue is so good in this movie across the board. Another note, George the Fifth. Mm-hmm. George the Fifth, total dick. Just an asshole.
Yeah, he is.
Dude.
Yes, he is.
Pretty much. So the thing about we talked about the earlier therapists. Everyone in this movie, therapists, George V, his older brother, everyone takes the attitude where essentially it's like going up to a depressed person and saying, "Why are you sad? Just be happy."
Yes. Yes.
Why are you stuttering? Just focus, man. Focus.
So,
Harry Potter, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
go to YouTube and Google Bob Newhart, Stop It.
Okay.
And there's a skit that he does where essentially he's a therapist and he charges, like $20, puts $20 on the counter. He listens to whatever the person has to say. And when they get talking, his answer to them is, "Stop it! Stop doing it! Stop it!" It's hysterical. It's as only Bob Newhart can do. The least effective, worst possible therapeutic answer you can give anyone. Like, "Oh, that's all I got to do is stop it. I never thought of doing that before. Well, I'll give that a try." And,
I have some YouTube shorts to show you after this.
So, and essentially everybody in his life told him to stop it, got in his face, was very authoritarian. I'll go with that word. I can get that one out. But nobody ever listened to him.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Now, the postscript to the movie, the text at the end, they remained friends.
Which they did in real life.
Right, in real life. Yeah. And no, that was that whole in real life, they remained friends. And Lionel Logue was at every speech he did on the radio for the rest of their
Couldn't
time
be
together.
knighted because he was an Aussie. Fun fact, apparently. But he did get something else. So he did get awarded. He was given it was a part of a council, I guess.
Of awards
in
for
real life. He
commoner
also
service
got
to the
and then in real life he actually got bumped up to like a massive estate. He was like set for life after that.
Really?
Like, he was given a decent estate.
So
one of the reports I read said a 25-room house. So he essentially was given nobility status. He was.
Well, that's a pretty big right.
Monarch.
Did you notice that partway through the movie, the quality of his living quarters increased? So maybe that's what they were trying to represent, because they went from that kind of dive apartment to a much nicer living quarters.
Yeah, I have no idea.
How much was he charging the king?
I don't know, but maybe he's a Bolshevik. Again, the dialogue is so good in this movie. Edward is. You look up eldest child in the dictionary, and there's a picture of Edward. He just exudes eldest child energy in this movie. Yeah. I'm like, all right, so he lands the plane on the grass. He insists that he's going to drive. He says, "Screw your rules. I do what I want." Yeah. An asshole.
I am not
eldest
going to.
Child.
I am not. Well, like, I was about to say, tell me, eldest child.
We're self-aware. Just Lionel's patience is infinite in this movie.
It is
just absolutely infinite. Although I will to retouch on this. I think I worded it better here. Is he let himself get a little too invested in George's life? He didn't pull back to just enough of a professional level. So he allowed those mistrust scenarios to kind of play out just a little bit, because he was a little overzealous. If he had restrained himself just a tad bit and gone, all right, let the reel out just a little bit. All right, now I'm going to really, but then you don't get drama. Then you don't get drama.
I think he was trying to. That's a very difficult thing to do with people. It's like being in a fight. Your opponent gets a vote in the matter. They get a say, and so you might think you're setting the hook, but maybe you're not quite as well as you thought. But this is a movie that
this is a fantastic movie.
This is one of those movies to revisit every couple of years.
Yeah,
this is a movie if you are a fan of well-made movies, this is one you want to watch.
Yeah. I was another thing that I was same person said, Oscar bait, good Oscar bait, but Oscar bait, this could have been a stage play. And he specifically said, if you look at the set pieces, there's not a lot going on in the backgrounds. There's not a lot going. It's a lot of people talking in rooms, and there's a lot of cinematography that makes up for the otherwise what would have been a very static film. And the cinematography is great in this film. I kind of agree with that. But he was basically like, this could be a stage play.
It could. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it could. But I don't think that detracts from the movie in any way.
I don't think so, personally.
I don't think it reduces the quality of the production.
No, the production on this, again, top tier. There's a reason it won so many awards.
Yep.
So, The King's Speech. It's so good. It's so good.
So if you've seen it, leave your comments down below.
Yes.
We love reading your comments, and thank you for participating in the channel.
Yeah, we enjoy it. And while you're down there, there's a subscribe button. If you want more discussions like this, go ahead and hit that and the bell down there to be notified when videos like this come out.
All right.
Thank you for watching this episode of Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches.
See you next time.